Okay. It's working. I had some problem getting into the webinar, so I'm glad that everyone else is able to get in. See a lot of familiar names showing up, so welcome. Just want to make sure everyone can hear me. Okay, I've got a couple of hellos coming in. So, right, let me share. The reason we are all here. So great. Hey, Preston. Glad you could join us. So, see Logan, Eric, Chris, Sarah. Wow, lots of people. Michelle, Scott. So thank you all for joining me this morning. Well, for some of you, it's this morning. For some of you, it's this afternoon. And today we're going to be talking about creating your marketing plan for 2026. And I'll be going into some of the things that have changed and that are making it, in some ways, more difficult to get traction with your marketing, but in other ways, make it more accessible to a wider range of people to be able to effectively do marketing to reach their target audiences. So today, Karen's blood sugar was low. I can certainly relate to that. Now, let me make sure I can get my slides to move. All right. So today we're going to do something that you probably don't often do in marketing webinars, and that is setting some goals and financial related or budget related targets for 2026 for your marketing. We're going to be doing that based on some real data, years worth of data from many of our clients. So those are kind of benchmarks that will help you decide where your budget should be. Also look at your KPIs or your key targets and tracking. How do you know you're achieving the outcomes that you're looking for? Because if you can't measure it, you're flying blind and marketing doesn't work that well. We'll also go into what to focus on in 2026. If you've got the foundations of your marketing in place already, then there is a lot of opportunity in 2026 to do new things. But if you don't have your foundation rock solid yet, then those are things that you probably want to hold off on a little bit until you get that foundation in place. Then we're going to map out your plan to accomplish your goals. So we're going to be looking at budget, at different marketing channels you could use. Some are going to work better than others, depending on where you are in your business, and how to incorporate these new trends into your marketing. And by the time we're done today, you should have a good idea of what kind of budget you'd be looking at, what kind of marketing channels you might be wanting to work with, and at least the beginnings of a plan for developing, your marketing for the next year. Now, I have put together a workbook for you. And if you go to this URL, tcms.link/2026, it will open a Google Doc. You just need to copy that to your own drive, and you might be able to download it, I'm not sure, but you copy it to your own drive and it'll have all the information in it to help you beyond today's workshop. If you have any trouble with getting into that, let me know in the chat and we'll see if we can fix that. Usually Google Docs work pretty well. So if anybody is able to get in, please let me know. And if you can't, also please let me know. Again, it's a live doc. You can't edit that one. You have to make a copy of it. And so I'll give you a minute to give that a go. Okay. How are you guys doing? Everybody got it? All right. Well, I'm going to assume since no, okay. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know. I'm always worried that it doesn't work. All right. The next thing you're going to do is you are going to set up your calculator. So you're going to go to tools.treecaremarketingsolutions.com. Bobby, you aren't able to get in. Shamira, if you're able to, could you help Bobby please try and access that? It's at tcms.link/2026. Thanks. So if you go to tools.treecaremarketingsolutions.com, it will pull up. I'm trying to see if I can actually share that. Oh, yeah, I guess I can. Share screen. It will pull up this. All right, this is your tree surface marketing budget calculator. And we're going to be using the information in this today. Oh, this is not the latest version. You won't be able to save it. Give me a sec and you will be able to save this as well. Okay, it'll be at the same URL. And this is just such a convoluted way of doing things on 3 screens. All right. So today I'm going to ask you to try and eliminate distractions, not to, turn off your phone, turn off your email, and focus on this. Spend the next 90 minutes focused on yourself and the development of your company for next year, and it should be well worth it. Also, I am going to be at the end giving you some links to some resources. We do have a lot of resources. We have a lot of different calculators for different aspects of marketing, from local service ads to Google ads, as well as um, tree facts and monthly marketing ideas, whole bunch of stuff. I'm also offering, for those of you who may be interested, a strategy session, a 1-hour strategy session for only $97. That's a 2/3 discount. If you've completed the homework in the marketing calculator, because then we can go really deep into what it is you're trying to do for the year. I think that will be helpful for some of you. So for those of you who I haven't met yet, and there are definitely some on this webinar, I'm Monica Hemingway. I'm an arborist licensed in Connecticut. I'm also an industrial psychologist, digital strategist, and I wrote the book literally on online marketing for tree service. And I've been working in this industry. I became an arborist about 14 years ago. I've been working in this industry now for over 20 years and been doing marketing for tree service since 2008. So pretty much seen it all at this point. Work with a lot of different companies. We've had the pleasure of working with some of the larger companies in the country, as well as some of the smaller ones. This is just a few of our clients, give you an idea of the range of clients that we work with. And this is our website. This is all we do is tree care marketing, nothing else. We don't work with any other industries. I am not here to try and sell you on our services, but just wanted to let you know that that is available, because this is what we do. And you can always learn more about us later. So I would like to hear from you. Marketing for your tree care company. I know it's not easy, and with all the changes that have been happening, it's getting more and more difficult. What to you is the hardest part about marketing your tree care company? Share your thoughts in the chat, and let's see if maybe those are some of the things that I can address during the next hour or so. Scott, when you go to that link, Does it give you an option where it says copy? Bobby, tracking where all the leads are coming from. That can be tough, especially if you're asking. Thankfully, we have a tool for that, and, for our clients, we track it all for you and share that information. Mike, I have a hard time evaluating what's effective, as in actually leading to estimates. And Chris, calculating ROI, those things sort of go together, and we're definitely gonna be looking at that. What kind of ROI are we supposed to have? Okay. So very focused on the business outcomes. Make a copy is grayed out. Oh my goodness, it's always technology, isn't it? Shamira, can you see if you can, help Scott maybe download a copy and just email it to him or something? You can get onto private chat, with him for that. Um, the calculator is at tools.treecaremarketingsolutions.com. Eric, having a multi-channel approach that supplements the digital components, right? Marketing these days is so much more than just digital. You can't do it only using online methods. Today, we're finding you've got to combine it with offline, and they have to be very tightly connected to each other to be effective. Make a copy is also not an option. Those of you who are having a problem with it, do you have a Google account? I'm wondering if that might be it. In any case, if you drop your email if you can't, and Shamira can download a copy off of our drive and send it to you by email. You can't edit it though. Always technology that gets us, eh? Just a second. I'm seeing if I can. Yeah, it's downloadable as a Word document, but I don't think I can attach that in here, can I? No, of course not. Yeah, okay. I right click to copy doc, it says copy has been disabled. All right. Let's see if this new link does it. I've published it to the web. Okay, so Sarah, combining the offline and online marketing as well. So the same issue that Eric raised. We've had more demand than we can sustainably meet from word of mouth referrals and repeat clients. Okay, so how do you balance those two things? If one of your marketing channels is giving you more than you can handle, do you keep the other channels going as well? And the answer is yes, but there has to be a balance there. Marketing is not one of those things where you can just kind of turn it on and off. Um, so okay, so we've got a lot of business issues like ROI, we've got tracking, and we've got balancing things out, combining online and offline. So when it comes to this webinar, why are you here? Why are we doing this? Every year, it seems like there are more and more things you could do when it comes to marketing. Everybody's throwing the latest things at you and saying, "You've gotta be on TikTok," or, "No, you've now got to be on Reddit and, posting in there," or, "You've got to be doing things with AI so that AI can find you." I will say that whole AI thing is important, but somewhat overblown right now, so don't panic about getting found by AI just yet. But a lot of new things come up. Google has changed its algorithm for local service ads, and now all of a sudden it's sending requests to 4 different people. So it's kind of like Angie's or Thumbtack or any of those things where now you're competing head on with other people for leads that you're each getting charged for, right? Things change and they change really quickly. How do you know what the right things are to do? In many cases, what I've been seeing is people jumping on the bandwagon and ending up overspending. They don't really know what they're doing, but they're told, "You've gotta do this," and they go and they put all their money there, and then they realize it doesn't work the way they thought. Or the other thing we see a lot of people do is saying, "I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna see what happens, and if this is proven to work really well, then I might consider it." The problem is often then they're underspending on their marketing and therefore underperforming. And I don't want that to happen to either the overspend or the underspend. I want to see you getting the results from your marketing. So today, we're going to develop a clear marketing plan that has goals, targets, and metrics. So getting to that ROI and being able to measure it, focusing on the right tools and tactics. So not just jumping on the bandwagon and going all in on the latest and supposedly greatest. And that specifically is built to convert leads into customers because there's no point getting leads if it doesn't actually generate business for you. And before we get into that, I wanted to go over some of the key trends for 2026. These are things that have been happening that we're seeing affecting our clients, affecting the industry as a whole, and that really need to factor into what you plan to do for the coming year. And probably no big surprise that AI is the first one on the list. So you might hear AI optimization. You might hear it referred to as well, normally we talk about search engine optimization. Now they talk about AI optimization. They talk about search everywhere optimization. They talk about generative AI. It's all basically the same thing. What you're trying to do is make it easy for the different AI platforms like Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity, one of my favorites. If you've not used perplexity.ai, it's fantastic. Um, you want to make it easy for them to find you, understand what you do, and understand that you are a company or a person that it should recommend when people are looking for what you provide. And there are some things you can do to help AI do that, but AI is pretty smart. It's not like you have to go out and do all of these special things to get AI to find you. It'll find you. You want it to find the right things, and that's where things like review management come in. You've gotta have a great reputation online. The more reviews you have, the more likely AI is to recommend you. You've gotta have a well-structured website with schema markup on it, which is a technical thing that I'll give you some links in a follow-up email that shows you how to do that. You wanna describe all of your services. You wanna have all of your social media channels claimed at least. You don't have to use them, but you need to be there. The more places you are online that AI can find you, especially if that's associated with signs of your expertise or your authority in tree care, the more likely it is to then recommend you. Some of the other things we're seeing have to do with the fact that people have busy lives. Um, People are also sort of seeming to become a little bit almost antisocial. They don't wanna call you. They would rather text, and they would rather do things online on a website because so many websites allow you to do that. I mean, think things like Amazon. You don't have to go shopping. You can get anything you want on Amazon from the comfort of your own recliner in your living room, right? So What we're finding is that a lot of people are expecting to be able to schedule online as well. So not just scheduling the work once they've accepted a proposal, but also scheduling the estimate to have your arborist go out and meet with them and give them a firm price. Um, Online scheduling in our industry can be really tough. A lot of our CRMs don't make it easy to do that, or they don't integrate with tools like Google Calendar, for example, that where it would be easy to do it. And it's also, unless you're divided up into, you're structured in a way that your estimators have their own territory, it can be really difficult because you don't want someone going from one side of the city all the way to the other and then back again in one day, right? Which there are solutions for this. There are things we're working on. There are things other people are working on as well. And some people have managed to do this for tree care. And I'd encourage you to think about the way you're structured and your operations going into 2026. Is there a way you can set that up that you can do online scheduling? Another thing we're seeing is pricing. That is absolutely huge. Everyone wants to know the price. It's probably one of the top 3 questions you get when people call, right? How much is this gonna cost? And the answer is usually, well, we've got to come see the tree, the surrounding environment, look for, is it near structures? What's the condition of the tree? What's the tree species? That's not a good answer for most people. And so they want to know, where are they going to go? They're going to go ask their neighbor who has a chainsaw, or they're going to go on Reddit and go down some thread where somebody who happens to have a cousin with a chainsaw says, I can remove that 60-foot oak for $400. Don't worry about it, right? You want to control the narrative. You want to educate people as to what is realistic when it comes to professional tree service. Now, if they don't mind a 60-foot oak tree falling on their house, okay. But most people would prefer to avoid that. So if you can give them the information and give them a ballpark estimate, not a quote, not a firm figure, but a ballpark, a range that is applicable to their situation, and educate them in the process by using interactive tools online, they're going to be much more likely to schedule that estimate with you and actually hire you because they'll know what to look for now when other people come to give them a quote, and they'll know what a realistic price range is. So this is something I'm doing a webinar on tomorrow. So if you haven't signed up for that one, you might want to look into that. It's going to be really interesting with Marcus Sheridan as our key speaker, and he's fantastic. Along the lines with the online scheduling, people don't want to actually call you. These days, people expect to be able to reach you through any form of communication, whether that's a Facebook message, a phone call, a text, a form, local service ads, any of those sorts of channels. They expect to reach you, and they expect you to reply in the same way that they reached out to you. They want you to use their preferred channel, not yours. So when you say you can reach us by email or phone, and they'd rather text you, you've probably lost them. Okay. So there are tools and ways that you can have all of these different communication channels coming into essentially one inbox, and you can reply from there. So you don't need to go into Facebook and Instagram and all these other channels just to reply to people. You can do it all from one place. I think pretty soon, if you're not doing that, it's going to start to be reflected in reviews and online comments because it's kind of the norm in most industries, or many industries at this point. Speed to lead. Used to be if you could respond within 15 minutes, you were pretty good. Nowadays is down to more like 5 minutes. Someone contacts you, they expect you to answer the phone or respond to their text message right away. If it's been more than 5 minutes, the chances are you've probably lost them as a prospect. They've called someone else or texted someone else or submitted a form somewhere else. How do we do that? How do we respond in a meaningful way within less than 5 minutes to every single lead that comes in? And the answer is automation and AI. And when you put them together, you can do a lot of this very easily without it taking a lot of personnel or other resources to make it happen, and still maintaining that personal touch, or at least it feels that way to the person on the other end. And then video content. Right now, AI is just sort of spamming the internet with lots and lots of content. The one thing it can't do well is the kind of videos that take a customer's question and answer it. These are 1 to 3 minute videos. You're answering questions, you're showing how things work. They're local, you're in your service area, you're explaining why you're doing something to a tree, or you're explaining what this pest is and how you treat it. You're working on demonstrating your expertise, your authority. These do get picked up by AI. These do show up in the search results, all over in the search results, and I'll show you some examples of that. And AI can't do that well yet. It's getting good with a lot of deep fakes and things like Sora and VO and all of that, but it really can't do what I'm talking about yet. So the more you can get into that in the coming year, the more you'll be ahead of people who are waiting until the day that AI will take over and do it for them. So big trends, big changes, things to keep in mind as we go through the rest of today. And we're going to start by setting clear goals. A lot of companies in every industry use sort of this, what I call the spray and pray approach. We'll just try everything and hope something works, throw the spaghetti at the wall. Something might come up, might work. You don't know why. You don't know what's going to work. And it might not be something that you actually wanted to have happen. In contrast, when you set very clear goals, it's like planting a tree. Instead of just scattering seeds, you're planting a tree. You know exactly what you're going to get out of it. And if you give it the right inputs, so sunlight, water, fertilizer, good soil, you will get that outcome. That's the way marketing works as well. That's the way business works, right? And you need to set your goals to make that happen. You need to plant that seedling as opposed to scattering seeds. With any goal setting framework, you want to write down your goals, your plans, set annual, quarterly, and monthly milestones. And then at those points, you're going to evaluate, how are we doing? So that gets to the question that, correct, but we need to sign up to access the calculator. You shouldn't. I don't think I published that version. Um, Michelle, are you still having trouble? The calculator is set up that you should be able to get in it, but if you can't, and it's asking for an email and a password, give it yours and write it down. That will allow you then to save your scenario. Thanks. So if anybody else is having problems, if anybody else sees that and you want to be able to save your work, create an account. It's not going to email you or do anything like that. So write down your password or make it really easy. But I did password protect it because it's people's revenue data in there, and I don't want that public or accessible to anybody else. It was a security reason. So back to the goal setting. Several of you brought up knowing your ROI and which leads are leading to revenue or booked work. That's where this evaluate and revise part comes in, right? So when you set your goals, you've got to go back and look. So monthly, quarterly, and annually. Oops. So in your workbook, so okay, So at this point, you should each have your workbook and your calculator open. Can you give me a yes if you're able to get into those? Okay, so we know at least 3 people are able to get in. Um, all right, great, thank you. Okay, so the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna go to the calculator, and at the top, it asks you for your annual revenue. It asks for your gross and net profit. Now, you don't need to put those in. This will work without that. That's more for your own information. Um, it'll ask for your average job value. And so that is something you do want to put in there. And it's asking for number of employees and your current monthly marketing spend. So, uh, employees, that is also sort of optional at this point. But if you can fill those parts in, your revenue part, go ahead and do that right now. And it will tell you what your current monthly marketing spend is as a percent of your revenue. And it gives recommended guidelines for, depending on your growth goals, what your marketing spend should be as a percent of your revenue. So that gives you a quick idea if you're in the right ballpark or not. Okay. Then underneath that, you have your current lead generation and conversion pipeline. For today, okay, Eric, I'm glad you're in the budget tool at least. For today, we're for the lead gen and conversion pipeline to make things a little faster. We're just going to use a single month of data. So you click on single month of data, and you're going to put in there whatever month this data is from and what state you're in, because it does make a difference. And then you're going to put in that month, how many leads did you get? So inbound contacts. And this can include spam. It can include people who are customers. This is what most marketing agencies call leads, right? Any inbound point of contact. You're then going to put in, of those, how many of them were quotable. And this is an important concept that a lot of people sort of miss. It's also called sales qualified leads in other industries. We call it quotable, meaning they're in your service area, they're asking for a service that you do provide, and they're asking for a quote, right? You're going to go out and give them an estimate. They're looking to schedule that. That's a quotable lead. And that is the important number, right? Who cares about the spam and all the rest of that? You want to know how many quotable leads you had. So then out of that, how many total jobs did you book in that month? And of those, how many were invoiced? Because we know scheduling issues or people change their mind. It's not a one-to-one ratio of booked to invoiced. It will then show you your conversion rates underneath that, right? Total calls to quotable leads, quotable to booked, booked to invoiced, and then quotable to invoiced, and your overall conversion rate from leads, what's coming in at the top of the funnel, all the way to what's coming out at the end, which is the important part, which is the jobs that have been invoiced. So sometimes that's a bit of an eye opener for people. I'm curious if anybody wants to share, what is your overall conversion rate? The one on the far right, what is that number looking like for you? And I've seen this range from 10% to 40%, or sometimes even a little higher, but not usually. No one wants to share. All right. Fair enough. I will give you a benchmark. 53. Okay, Jacob. I mean, 55. Wow. Okay, awesome. That is fantastic. The benchmark I was going to give you is 40 to 43%. If we look across all of our clients for the last 12 months and look at those numbers, that is the average is going to be somewhere between 40 to 43. A lot of them get a lot of repeat calls and things like that, which drives the number down because they're existing customers. But if you're doing around 40%, consider yourself good. If you're doing above that, 2 thumbs up. So way to go, Jacob. Okay, next one. You're going to go down to seasonal revenue projections. And you're going to click on use industry standard patterns for my region. Now, after the workshop, I would encourage you to come back in and use the detailed monthly data because that will be more precise for you. But for today, we're going to just use the industry. Are you in a southern or northern state or middle of the road? Because we do know there are seasonal differences in search volume and in revenue and need across different seasons in different locations. So pick the one that's most relevant to you. And then below that, in the growth target and revenue goals, you're going to use that slider to move it to whatever growth percent or whatever the new revenue goal is for you for the coming year. And be realistic. If you're at, say, 2 million today, don't expect 5 million at the end of next year. I doubt your marketing budget could manage that. Some people do. I'll say that. But okay, and so what it'll tell you is what's your new revenue goal and the additional revenue you need. And then based on your conversion rates, how many leads do you need to hit that revenue target? Starting with how many invoiced jobs do you need per month to hit your new revenue target? And then working backwards, how many book jobs, how many quotable leads, and how many total calls or forms do you need to have that happen? So I would really like to see some numbers here. Quotable leads, all right? So the one in dark green. Can you drop in the chat how many quotable leads you need per month next year to hit your target that you've just set? 214, Sean. Okay, you're going for it. 240, Sarah. Anyone else have any numbers? Scott, 266. Bobby, 195. Mike, 200. All right. So do you see how this could be helpful to know in order to hit your revenue, how many quotable leads you need to bring in? And that's what you're going to be working towards with your marketing. Many people are just kind of winging it and hoping they've got the right number and then realizing come October, oh, no, we're not there. This is the number you're going for, all right? Then underneath this, you've got your marketing budget required to meet your goals. This is based right now, I think, on a 10% budget. So this is assuming you're looking for some significant growth. Sarah, how can you adjust this goal for seasonality? That's step 2. So the calculator that I'm sharing with you today for purposes of the workshop is sort of the scaled down version. Sarah, you are working with us, so we'll be going through the full version with you where you're putting in your monthly data. There's quite a bit more that gets fed into it. We also do have average numbers for cost per lead for different marketing channels for each month of the year. Now, those are average, but there's a lot of math we can do that the calculator will do behind the scenes to adjust that based on your specific situation. So that's one of the reasons why I am offering that strategy session. If you want to do that deeper dive into it, it I think will be very interesting. But right here, what this is going to tell you with your marketing budget, it's going to tell you what your monthly budget needs to be given. This is a starting point, right? This is assuming that you need to hit that many quotable leads per month. And it's going to tell you if there's a gap between what your current marketing budget is and what your necessary or recommended marketing budget is to hit those goals. Many people are really surprised to see what that number is. When you're looking at your monthly marketing budget, it is not just your spend on ads or your spend on direct mail, let's say, if you're doing that. It's not just um, the costs that you see. It's if you're working with a marketing partner, it's their fees. It's also your internal costs, your people's time to do the marketing or to handle the leads as they're coming in, which is why automation can be such a valuable part of your marketing as you scale up and get more leads. Do you want to get more people and more overhead, or do you want to use automation and possibly AI to keep your costs a little lower without losing that touch with your potential customers? So this will tell you if your marketing budget is on track or not. Okay. And with that, we're going to step away from the calculator, but keep these numbers in mind. In your worksheet, there is a spot for you to put those numbers in. What's the monthly revenue that you need to hit, and what are the invoiced, booked, quotable, and total leads you need each month? Oops. The the calculator gives you the numbers based on revenue for your goal. But what it doesn't do is some of the work that I strongly encourage you to do after this workshop, which is look at the other parts of your business. Number of crews. Where do you want to be at the end of 2026? Services offered. Do you want to expand maybe into PHC? Do you want to add snow plowing or stop snow plowing in the winter? You want to buy a new crane? Are you expanding your service area? Think about your business beyond just marketing and get a real strong picture, a vision in your mind of where you want to be, and then write it down. The question then becomes, well, why do you want to do this? The more you can internalize it, the more you have a personal reason to achieve that goal, the more likely you are to do what's necessary to get there. I mean, that's just human psychology, right? It's not even marketing. So do write this down. Also, when you have that big picture, now you want to bring it down to monthly, average monthly revenue you need, and the number of jobs you need at X dollars, right? That's what the calculator has shown you. You need certain number of jobs. It's assuming that the average job price you put in earlier is going to be the same next year. But maybe it's not. Maybe you're going to be offering higher value services. Then you need to bump that average job price up. Maybe you're getting into PHC. It can be highly profitable, but per service call, the average is going to be a little lower. So your overall might be a little lower. Or you may want to divide it into, here's the PHC business, here's the general tree work business, and we're going to do two different sets of projections for it. Okay. So when you write it down, it'll start to make a little bit more sense to you. And then what will it take to get there? How are you going to get these leads? Right? What's your budget? And how are you going to allocate that budget across different marketing channels? That's the trick, right? How do you do that? Then the calculator will help you with that. But before we get into that, because people get very focused just on the dollars, I want to take a look at some marketing fundamentals. After all, this is about marketing. Uh, And I think of it sort of as this triangle. There's three parts to marketing. There is your market. Who is your ideal customer? Who are you trying to attract as a lead that would then turn into a customer? And in your workbook, there's a whole section on that. I'm not going to go into any depth here. That's in the workbook. Really thinking through at a very detailed level who these people are. Many companies have multiple targets, maybe the residential and commercial, or maybe you've got PHC and general tree work. Maybe you work in different types of neighborhoods, some that are more upscale and some that are not. You want to have a very clear description of each one of your different target markets before you get into the rest of the marketing. When you can see the world through their eyes, you can sell anything to them because you are them. Most business owners think their customers are like them, and the reality is that's usually not the case. So what you want to tell them or share with them is not necessarily what they want or need to hear or see. Get your market clear, your who, then you can get your messaging clear. It has to appeal to your specific ideal customers or customer avatars, personas, whatever you want to call them. Your messaging has to be what they want to know and what they need to hear, not necessarily what you want to tell them. And from the message, we go into the media, which is, well, how are we going to get that message to them? Which marketing channels are we going to use? And depending on the message and the market, you're going to use different marketing channels. They're going to be more or less effective, or even some of them might not even be applicable depending on your market and your message. Okay. So the workbook kind of walks you through all of that. And I encourage you to really put some thought into that because it is truly the foundational piece of most marketing is to have that. Well, I kind of jumped ahead. Your messaging, right? Why should someone do business with you versus someone else? And what benefits do they get from working with you? And that's not, well, we're certified and we have 100-ton crane and we have nice uniforms, right? That's not a benefit to your customer. It's something it's really cool for us, but what is it that they really care about and how do you address that for them, right? Very different way of looking at things. Oops. And some of the things that we found work pretty well with almost any market is things focusing on time. Everybody is busy. And it's the whole reason people don't want to phone. They just want to text. That's on their terms, on their time. So things like being able to offer same day quotes, not always feasible. I know that. Emergency services, 24-hour service on time, anything that you can say about time and being flexible to work with their time is going to resonate well with pretty much any audience. One of the other things is pricing, right? Um, if you can't provide pricing on your website, talk about how you offer straightforward pricing or upfront pricing, where you're very clear with your proposals. They know exactly what they're getting, what they're paying for. There's no surprises. Their satisfaction is guaranteed or your price is guaranteed. You want to make them feel comfortable that they're not going to get an unpleasant surprise when the job is done. And then trust. This is something hard to earn, very easy to lose. But if you can help them feel that you are trustworthy, your crews, you've got trusted arborists, your professionals are very experienced, you're trusted by 500 people in your region. Look at our Google reviews, right? We've got 500 reviews. You want to share that as well. From there, you're going to go into what your specific audience wants, which is going to be a little bit different. But these three things, generally speaking, and especially today, the pricing and the timeliness are going to be something that's going to work for pretty much everyone. So you have your market, you have your message, and now you want to set up your media. This is your strategy for your marketing. And the way you often hear it referred to as a funnel, right? At the top of the funnel, what you're trying to do is get leads. You're trying to bring people into contact with you, whether that's through your website, your social media, whether it's at a live event, maybe it's you're sponsoring something and so they're seeing your logo and your name. You're trying to get them to come to you. So driving leads. Once they've come to you, once they've found you wherever it is that they found you, you're trying to maximize conversions. What you're looking to do is get as many of those people who contacted you to then actually turn into a booked job. So Jacob, with his 55% overall conversion rate, is clearly doing a really good job here. The higher you can get your conversion rate from any source of marketing, whether that's a website, social, email marketing, ads, whatever it is, the higher your conversion rate, the lower your cost is going to be for each one of those leads. And the more leads you're going to get from the same number of contacts. And I'll show you an example of that in a moment. Then, okay, now you've got them coming in. Oh, Jacob, 44. Okay, still good. Still really good. Then you're looking to optimize the results. They've come in, you're giving them, why is this not? Okay. Driving leads, different ways to do it. Paid search, which is ads, local search, which is things like Google Maps, and organic search, which is things like your website. Offline, so mailers, events, and then what I call R3, which is repeat business, referrals, and building relationships with people so that they are more likely to choose you when they have a need for tree work. Maximizing conversions. Okay, on your website, uh, a really good way to do this is to have an excellent online reputation. The more reviews you have, particularly on Google, the better your online reputation. It feeds into AI. It also feeds into people who are looking around because they will look at reviews. The majority of people look at that and they want to see lots of reviews, positive reviews, responses from the owner, pretty quick responses, and recent reviews. If the last review was 2 months ago, that's not so good, right? And then the other thing to maximize conversions is going to be automation and AI. So some of the things I've been talking about with as leads coming in and being able to automatically respond to them via text, via voicemail drop, via email. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. And then optimizing results. Obviously, you're trying to not decrease your total spend. You're trying to optimize your total spend. You don't want to spend too much, nor do you want to spend too little. Either one of those is not going to result in the best outcomes. You are trying to reduce your cost per lead and your customer acquisition cost in general. And what you're trying to do ultimately is to increase your return on investment and your profit. So there were a couple of people at the beginning who said, hey, look, I'm interested in ROI. I want to know what's working, what's not, what's driving business. That's what this represents. You can do all this marketing up here at the top. This is where a lot of your marketing happens to drive leads. But if you're not doing the rest of it and also working on optimizing the results, your ROI is not going to be where you want it to be. That's profit, and ROI is sort of the ultimate measure of marketing success. So, given that, where do you need to focus in this coming year to get things through that funnel and maximize your ROI and your profit? Anyone want to take a guess on the best place to focus into 2026? Think everybody's either asleep or worried. Chris, AI, okay, that's definitely going to be an area of focus for 2026. Any other guesses? GMB, yeah, yeah, that's definitely one of them too. So let me put it this way: think about it. Sooner lead capture and response time. Yep, that's going to be very important as well as people get more time starved, I guess, and less patient. Think about the one place where sooner or later nearly everybody will go to at some point in time, and that's your website. It's it's something that it's not necessarily sexy, fun like AI and some of the automations and things like that, but sooner or later, everything is pointing in that direction. Events, your content that is out there, if you're doing print, you're driving them back to your website, usually with a QR code or a URL. Social media, it's always linked to your website. Your ads come to your landing pages, but they're still on your domain, on your website, and they all need to fit together. So the website is still the primary thing to focus on in 2026 and make sure you get it right. This is the foundation of the rest of the stuff. Fuel to drive company growth, marketing as a whole. Yes, very much. So let me show you why conversion is so important. And your website has to be built to convert. So if we look at scenario number one, let's say your website gets 1,500 visitors a month and you have a 5% conversion rate on your website, which is fairly typical. That translates into 75 calls or leads. Using sort of industry averages, let's say you have a 30% conversion, that's 22 booked jobs a month. And I'm just using a number here, $1,200 is your average transaction. So those 1,500 visitors at 5% conversion turn into just over $26,000 in revenue for that month. If you take the exact same 1,500 visitors, but your conversion rate is now 15% instead, just 10 percentage points higher, now you can expect to get 225 calls, 67 booked jobs, and 80,000 in revenue. That's 3 times more revenue from the same number of visitors just by improving the conversion on your website. So we're going to do something in 2026. That would be the focus, is to get your conversion rate on your website as high as you possibly can to be able to get more from less. How do you do it? There are a lot of what's a reasonable goal for a high conversion rate on a website. It varies, Sean, by industry. On a tree service website, where often people they're higher ticket sales, there's sometimes, depending on what it is, a longer sales cycle. A conversion rate on a website of 15% is pretty good. If you've got it higher than that, there's something really cool going on. I don't know what it is, but there's something going on. So 15% would be a good target to go for. If you're looking at things like Google Ads and you're looking at the landing pages from your Google Ads, 15% conversion rate on Google Ads is also a very strong number. So I'd say I'd use that as a target. So is your website optimized for conversion? Most websites are not. And it's because they're missing many of these things here on this list. Phone number, top right of every page on the website. I can't tell you how many websites I go to, and I've got to go all the way down to the footer or go to a contact page just to find their phone number. Most people won't do that. They're gone. They wanna call you and they can't find the number, they're gone, right? Service area clearly described. Again, on every page, at the top of every page, make it clear, what area do you serve? They don't have to go and try and read the text to figure out that you're actually outside of their neighborhood and that you don't serve them, right? Easy navigation. That's your menu at the top of your website. And there's a tendency to try and cram everything in there. Instead, what works best is to make it as simple as possible. So the main things people need to see when they come on your website are your services. They need to be able to contact you. So a request an estimate form of some sort or page. They need to know about you. So who you are, your team, um, where you're located, all of that information. Those are the primary things that need to be there. Oh, and your service area. You wanna have a page for your service area. Other things like your reviews, FAQs, a blog, those things should be easily reachable from the navigation, but they don't need to be those top line things in the navigation. They can be drop downs. Having said that, you don't want to drop down where you drop down and then you drop down and you keep going down because no one ever finds anything that way. So keep it as simple as you can. Images, photos, videos of your team. Please don't use stock images unless you have absolutely no other choice. What you're trying to do is show off in a way, right? You're trying to show your smiling team members, your arborists, your people, your office, your equipment, jobs in progress, particularly if they're in areas that people might recognize. Get that on your website. Those photos are gonna convert and help your website convert much better than a stock image ever will. People wanna see you so that they can get to know who you are and trust you. A text or chat option. You see chatbots on a lot of websites these days. It's kind of, people expect it. A lot of them are dumb chatbots. They can answer certain questions, and that's about it. Others are AI powered, and they can answer a lot more. They can even, depending on how you're set up, they can even schedule or book, estimates or reschedule jobs and things like that, right from the website in a chat with an AI bot. Those help. So even if that person doesn't immediately turn into a lead, the fact that you've got that option for them, in their eyes, bumps you up a little bit, particularly if it's an AI one and not one of those ones that can just answer 6 questions, and that's it. A click to call button. When you're looking at a website on your phone, across the bottom, you wanna have a button or a bar that says click to call. Make it really easy for them so that because we're seeing about 60% overall, it varies by location, but about 60% of leads are coming through mobile. You wanna make it as easy as possible for them to call you because they are not gonna fill out a form. They might text you, but they're not gonna fill out a form on their phone. So that click to call button's critical, and it stays there. As they scroll up and down, that button's always there. Multiple calls to action. There's so many times I go to a website, and I'm like, "What am I supposed to do?" Like, I I can call them, but there's nothing that says, "Get a quote, call us today," free estimates, any of those things. There's no real call to action on the website, and if there is, maybe there's just one at the top, but as you scroll down through the content, you lose sight of the top of the website, and now you don't see that call to action. So you wanna try and not overdo it, but have a call to action visible at nearly every point as somebody is scrolling down through your website. You need to tell them what to do. Don't assume that they know what to do or that they're gonna do something if you don't tell them to. I know that doesn't sound very kind, but that's the reality with websites. Make sure it works on is mobile responsive, works on, phones, and it loads quickly everywhere. Most people used to just focus on the desktop version. Looks great, we're good. Google doesn't look at the desktop version at all, really. It looks at the mobile version. So if it's slow or if things are all out of order or it looks awful, that is going to kill your ability to, first of all, get found online because Google's not going to show that page. And to convert people once they get there. If things are all wonky in terms of placement or sizing of fonts and things like that, they're gone. All right, so look at it mobile first. So some examples, right? Here we've got, okay, phone number, top right, big phone number. You can't miss it. And it's clickable. You can click on it. So if you are on your phone, you could click that. Tells you their service area. Tells you what to do. It's got a button, request a quote. It takes you right to their quote page. Okay. It's got a clear navigation at the top. Okay, Eric, I'm going to get to your question in a second. That's a good question. And it tells you what they do. They specialize in large tree removal and pruning. So if you've got a little rose shrub that you want to have trimmed, don't call these guys, right? Right here at the top of every page. Oops. And it also a distinguishing feature for them. They've been in business for almost 30 years. Feature that. That's part of that building authority, credibility, trustworthiness. So since 1996. Here's another example, right? Request an estimate right there at the top. Phone number right there at the top. They also have pay an invoice here. And you'll notice on this one, we moved the secondary things like the FAQs and the blog and the pay an invoice to the top above the main navigation. And the main navigation is, the main navigation is their services. So there's different ways to do this. It depends on, again, your audience, right? They've also got their service area and since 1974. And this is their get a quote page. They've made it really simple and really clear. Looking for a quote, fill this out. On their contact us page, it says looking for a quote, go to the other page, right? You want to have the two, keep them separate. And okay, this is one of our clients. This is Q1 revenue and where it came from. So this gets to one of those questions that was raised earlier about tracking from marketing source all the way to revenue. And you can see between website organic traffic, this dark pink, and local organic traffic, that was 57% of their revenue. Why is it so high? It's because it's what their site and their local SEO is very well optimized. So it's converting at a high rate. That's what you want to see. And then direct traffic as well. These are people coming to their website here, another 17% also converting well. So when you see numbers like this, and you've got this traffic coming from organic sources, it means you're getting found and people are converting well, and it's turning into revenue, the most important number, right? Some of the other things to do, I mentioned earlier, video. Leverage video as much as you can while it still makes a difference. This is one of our clients, top notch. He does these cool, they're like 2-minute videos answering questions that customers, whoops, why did that go wrong? Answering customer questions. Hello. He has an editor who edits those, and we then turn it into a blog article as well, like a lengthy, detailed article linking to throughout his website, and put it on YouTube and embed it on his website. The result is that for those questions, he shows up all over the search results because it's written and it's visual, it's in YouTube and it's on Google, it's everywhere. This doesn't take a lot of time on his part at all. He just stands there and answers questions, right? This is something every one of you can do. On your site, I said, use real images. Here we go. This is another client. They are who they are, and they make no excuses for it. And I love that picture up at the top, the bumping fists, right? This is who they are. Show that. Be real. Be authentic. They also have, and all of our clients will have that, is for each person on the team, they're going to have their qualifications. You want to show those prominently. That helps to Show that you are an expert, an authority. Put your reviews on your website. Show that social proof, right? Uh, embed it right on your site. So when new reviews come in and responses come in, they immediately show on your website. You don't want to be copying and pasting. People want to be able to click on this and go right to the source, to Google, because that's how they know it's legit. Or Facebook or any of those would all show up here as well. All right. If you copy and paste, they think you've made it up. People are a little suspicious. And then connect in real time using an AI assistant. So down at the bottom right here, you've got the AI bot. So Eric, that gets to your question, right? Um, Seattle Tree Care's a fairly large company, and they get a lot of calls every single day. And they, even with, I don't know, they've got like 4 or 5 people answering the phones, they can't keep up. Also, after hours, what are you gonna do, right? You're not gonna have somebody 24/7 manning the phone or staffing the phone. The AI bot has been trained on their business specifically. It knows what questions to ask to qualify people. It knows how to answer questions about tree care and the services they do. It has a ton of training behind it, and a lot of their qualified booked leads come through this AI bot on their site. The key is that it's trained. It's well trained on their business. We have other clients who never trained their bot, and it's less useful. So, Eric, I think the trick is, if you're going to do something like that, AI or even automation, need to think it through really, really carefully. Can it answer or address every conceivable issue that people would have? And do it in a way that reflects how you want it done, not just some generic answer. A live person answering the phone, if somebody is calling in, a live person is always going to be better than anything else. If somebody is coming to your website and choosing not to call you, but to use the AI bot or submit a form, or if they're on Facebook and they elect to send you a message, then you want to have the automation or the AI set up to be able to respond to them right away. And that will help convert those much faster than waiting for a person who is busy answering the phone to step away from the phone and go and look for these messages and respond, and then wait half an hour for the person to respond back. A bot or an automation is going to make that much easier for you. So it's kind of a combination of both. But definitely, if you can answer the phone, answer it. If you cannot answer the phone, smaller clients sometimes can't. I've worked with people where, they're up a tree somewhere. They can't answer the phone. There are automations that can immediately send a text right back to the person who called you saying, "Sorry, I missed your call. I'm in the field right now. I will give you a call as soon as I'm able to." So they know, in the meantime, if you want to leave me any other information, just send me a text back and I can respond that way. You're letting them know immediately that you got it and you're there for them. It's when they don't hear back from you for a couple of hours that they think you've ignored them. So the automations come in really handy there as well. Did that answer your question, Eric? All right. Mobile responsive, not going to go into that one again. I think we all know we all use phones, but this is an example of that click to call button at the bottom of a mobile view. And you'll see, this is obviously scaled down for mobile view, and you click that and call. So the question for you is your website built to convert? And in the worksheet in the workbook, there are a lot of the things I just went over. I wanted to show it to you, but they're sort of listed there, and you can kind of go through that list and say, okay, do we have this? Are we doing that? And it'll give you a good idea of how much work your site may or may not need. So even if you've got a website that is converting really well, right? And it's bringing in these leads, The biggest problem that why is this sorry, I'm not even touching the mouse and it's going backwards. The biggest thing we're seeing, is leads that have come in that don't get a follow-up. So nowadays it's 5 minutes. They don't get followed up within 5 minutes. They don't get followed up within 15 minutes. At that point, you've lost them. And we do see that happening. The average customer generally needs to get 5 to 7 or even more follow-ups in order to book. And most of us don't have the patience to do that, especially if it's through text or Facebook Messenger or something like that. And we also often feel like we don't want to bug people, so we don't follow up. The reality is, if you follow up once or twice and you don't get a response, doesn't mean that they don't want to work with you. It doesn't mean that they aren't possibly a really good customer. It means you haven't followed up enough times until they tell you stop. Um, so this is another place where automation comes in to help you make those multiple touch points. They can be emails, text messages, they can be voicemail drops where their phone doesn't ring, but a voicemail shows up on their phone. They do tend to call back from those, right? People still prefer to interact via text messages. So a lot of the automations that are following up on things are usually done via text. How many of you feel that you are following up within 5 minutes and following up 5 to 7 times when you get a new lead in there? Okay, how about drop a yes in the chat if you are doing that and a no if you're not. And there is no judgment here. I think most of these are going to be no. Eric, 2 thumbs up. Mike, yeah, that's about most people's response. 5 minutes, but not 5 times, 3 times, 30 minutes, 8 follow-ups on quotes. Okay, that's good. So if you can get it down to 5 minutes and get those follow-ups in before they even turn into quotes as well, you probably have more quotes to be able to give. So use the automation and automate the follow-up. It's pretty straightforward. There are a lot of well, a lot. There are quite a few tools out there. There's one we use that we have completely customized for tree service, but there are certainly other options, and some of the CRMs out there can do some of this stuff as well. So if you're not sure, if like I think Jobber will do some of this. I think Single Ops may do some of it. It's not necessarily all done well, but if you have the ability to set that up, take a look at it and see if you can get that going in the new year. We just looked at that. So, um, so know your numbers. Okay. Tracking. I think Bobby raised this one earlier. Tracking. How do you know where your leads are coming from and what's happening to them? You need to have the tracking systems in place, especially for call, form, text, and other message tracking. You want to know exactly where they're coming from. We use a tool called What Converts. CallRail is also very good. We've built onto it with AI to classify everything, tell you, what are they looking for, what's next, what do you need to do to follow up, prioritizing them, and all of that. But that at a minimum, you need to have some level of call tracking software in place. Google Analytics set up, and then you only need a simple dashboard, really. Once you've got those leads in a spreadsheet, what happens to them? And you can track that manually in a dashboard or a Google Sheet or something like that, because it will tell you what the lead source is. You can also use fancier tools like we do, but it's not necessary. You can do this with a spreadsheet. The point is, if you don't do this, you don't know what's happening, right? You don't know how well your marketing is working and where you're getting your revenue from in terms of your lead sources. It's hard and time consuming. Is there an Yes, Bobby, that is what we do, actually, for you. We tell so for all our clients, we do the tracking, the lead tracking, and you get a report showing you exactly who your leads are, where they came from, right down to what keyword did they type in that triggered what specific Google ad and what landing page version were they on when they converted, right? It's very, very detailed. Which email newsletter did they respond to when they called? The trick is getting that aligned with the invoice data. That's a data management, even if they're on call rail. If they can be exported out of call rail, they'd need to be cleaned up. But yes, it can be done out of call rail. Our systems integrate with what converts, I'm not trying to sell our system, so I really don't want to go into that. If anyone is interested, we have all of this built custom AI tools and whatnot to do this. Um, but it is possible to do it yourself. All right. But Bobby, let's talk afterwards. I know we've talked about it a couple of times. Okay. So you're going to put tracking in place one way or another. And now you're ready to build your marketing plan. And what you're going to do with your marketing really depends on where you are in your business. So I think of it as this marketing pyramid, right? There's a foundation. Got to build that. That's the basics, and that's your website sits in the foundation level, and that's your technical and your on-page SEO. It's the stuff you do with the content. It's the mobile responsiveness, all of that stuff that we were just talking about. That's your foundation. Then you build on top of that, and the next thing is local search. This is your Google Business Profile, Google Maps. You also start to get into local service ads there. That's where we're finding our clients are generating anywhere from 30 to 50% of their revenue is coming from local search. Depends on their service area. So this is huge. This is why I'm saying go and make sure that you've got your Google Business Profile really well optimized. I'm going to show you what that looks like, and that you're active on it. You're getting reviews. You're aiming for a couple of a week at least, and you're responding to every single one of them. Then you can start looking at paid search, meaning Google ads. Those are more expensive. They are a lot harder to run effectively. People lose a lot of money on those. So don't jump into those unless you know what you're doing and you've got your foundation and your local search in place, because the majority of your revenue is probably going to be, well, not probably, it is going to be coming from those two areas. Okay, you're doing some paid stuff. Now you start layering on email marketing, videos. You can start to get into print, direct mail, maybe even EDDM, although I don't recommend that as much. So you're coming offline now, right? But your online presence needs to be firmly established before the offline can really work, because again, people are going to come from those mailers or videos or whatever it is, and they're going to come to your website, and it better be good. And they're going to look for your reviews. So your Google Business Profile has to be well done. Okay. So this kind of gives you an idea of prioritizing things based on where you are. And with the foundation, the number one things, your conversions, but also your search engine optimization. That's, in very simple terms, anything that's going to help your business rank higher in the search results when people are looking for tree services in your area. You don't want to show up out of your area or anything like that, where you are. A lot of people have been talking about, is SEO really dead? They've been saying this for years. SEO is dead. SEO is dead. It's not dead. It's not going anywhere. When you search, so this is let's see, this was a search for tree service Seattle. That's it. And I did it incognito, so not from my own computer. This is a result of SEO, local SEO at the top. This is your map pack, your Google Maps or your local pack. There's Seattle Tree Care up at the top, which is where you want to be. And roughly 30 to 40% of clicks, depending on which research you're looking at, will come from that section there. So you absolutely want to show up in the top 3 when somebody's searching in your area. The next section down here is the organic search results. And again, depending on which research you're reading and when it was published, anywhere from possibly 30 to 40% of clicks can come from that section. So you want to be on that first page. One of the interesting things is you always used to want to be in the top 3. Now the top 10 will work because AI is kind of looking at the top 10. So as long as you're in there, it doesn't really seem to care all that much and it will recommend you. But if you can be the first, that's going to be good. All of this takes a lot of work, and that work is search engine optimization. Whatever you call it, it is still SEO. So no, SEO is not dead. It very much alive, and this is an example of how it works. So this is I was looking for something kind of random, Seattle tree removal permit. So that's what I typed in right there, Seattle tree removal permit. The top 2 results are the government, the Seattle DOT, and the Seattle government. The next section then goes into people also ask, right? That's this thing here. People also ask. The number 1 response there is from Seattle Tree Care. That's all right. This is our client, and people do look at those. People also ask sections. You do want to show up there if you can. So there they are. They're showing up in the people also ask. Then on this one, for some reason, the AI overview came a little further down the page. Normally it shows up at the top of the page. But again, if you look over here, it shows you which websites it pulled information from to give that AI overview. And the top one right there, you can't really see it on this screen, but the little logo there, that's Seattle Tree Care. So they're showing up there. And then at the bottom of the AI overview, it shows a bunch of videos and other things to go, other resources. Here is a video from Seattle Tree Care, and here is their permits page on their website. And then after some more related processes and stuff, the first non-government organic result is Seattle Tree Care. Okay. This is SEO at work. So I hope that kind of shows that it's not dead and you do done well, you will show up everywhere, which is kind of the goal. Yeah. So this is looking at quotable leads. So these are people asking for quote in your area for all of our clients for the last 12 months. This is where the quotable leads came from. And 19 point something came from organic search and 32% came from the local SEO. So again, that's 51 point something percent of quotable leads came from directly from SEO, just SEO. Okay. So yeah, it still matters. And that the workbook gives you some ideas for how to go about ensuring that your SEO is properly set up. There's also, and I'll show this link again, but treecaremarketingsolutions.com/resources. There's a link there where you can run a site audit, which will give you some insight into how well optimized your website is from a standard SEO standpoint. This is in the workbook, so I'm not going to go into it now because I realized we're sort of out of time. But it's all in your webs in the my goodness. That's then there's the stuff you do off your website. I don't know why that. Sorry, we'll ignore that. The next big thing is your Google Business Profile. This is your local SEO, right? Think of it as your new homepage. If you don't have this done well, and if you don't have your address showing on it, it is literally impossible to succeed in local search. And I say impossible very deliberately. It's just not gonna happen. So, what does that look like? So, this is local search done well. I was not searching for this client. I was just looking for tree service in their area. And this is their what's called knowledge panel or your Google business profile, basically. I didn't type in their name. I just typed in their service and service area, and their knowledge panel shows up. Wow. That is basically saying they are tree service in this area. Top left here, this is your this is your local services ads, right? And they're showing up there as well. If their Google business profile was not strong, this would not be happening. So here's what to do. Make sure you've claimed your GBP. Um, make sure you filled out everything you possibly can on it. And I'm going to show you a couple of things that you might not know. Add photos, add a whole bunch of photos and add them regularly. It's going to show your business name. Make sure that is your legal business name. If your legal business name isn't clearly a tree company, you might want to file for a trade name or a doing business as, and you can have that showing on your Google business profile. We do that for quite a few of our clients whose legal name is not going to really work. It does show their overall rating and number of reviews. It does list the service area. So this one says where they are, Southborough, Massachusetts. Got their website. There's a link to it right there. And then there's this description here. This is generated by Google's AI. It is not generated by you or by us, and there is nothing you can do to tell it what to say other than to click on these three little dots here and report it as inaccurate if it is, because this one is inaccurate. It says tree contractors for removal, pruning, transplanting, and timber hauling plus lawn services. They do not do transplanting and they do not do lawn services. So the AI is not right. There's nothing anywhere that we've put online or they have that says they offer those services, yet somehow it's saying that. So take a look at yours and click on those if it's wrong. Okay. Address, you need that address. I'm going to leave it at that. You need to have that showing and you need to go to a verification process to prove that you actually exist and are there. That's what allows that red pin to show up on the map. And a lot of people look for that red pin. And if they don't see it, they don't click and they won't come to your profile. You can add an appointment link. This just goes to the request an estimate page. Why not? It takes up more space. It gives people one more thing to click on. And then there's this products. I bet you didn't know that your services were actually products. This still works. You can add them as products right in your Google business profile. You add them as services, but you also add them as products. And ideally, you want to put an image that has the name of it, of the service, right on it. And Google will let you do that. Pretty cool. So now you've got products and then Q&A. You seed it with 3 to 5 different questions that people ask, and you can give the answer as well. You don't need to have someone else do that, or you can give it from a different account and give the answers. When people ask questions, answer them right away. You do get notified, so answer them. Your reviews show up here. Your business description. This is the business description that you provide. Oops. And then posts. These still show up. They still have an impact. There's talk that within the next 6 months, maybe not, but right now they are still working. So post something every week. The formula is a photo of your crew, your team doing something. That's the photo. And underneath, you're going to say where they are, what they're doing, maybe why they're doing it, and a little call to action. Do not put your phone number in the Google post. It will get denied. You can't put that in there. And that's it. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, for doing that yourself, okay? And then your social profiles now show up at the bottom as well. So claim all the social profiles you can. You don't have to use them, but claim them and fill in all of the information about your company, and it will show up here. You can now tell Google what your social profiles are. You didn't used to be able to. It would guess wrongly sometimes. Put them here. It's an opportunity for somebody to find you in a different place, and it also sends more signals to those platforms from Google. So that's Google Business Profile in a nutshell. The key is to do something to it every week and fill in all that information. Third thing in that pyramid and in order of what you really need to focus on is getting online reviews. A lot of people don't have those reviews, and our research shows that for generating leads, the minimum number of reviews on Google, it doesn't matter where else they are, it's really Google that matters. Once you get over 100 Google reviews, your leads start to go up significantly. It's like there's a threshold there. Once you get to 300 reviews, your cost per lead starts to come down. That's primarily with local service ads, but it does seem to be affecting across the board, um, your the number of leads that you're getting. So the threshold, the goal you're aiming for is 100 Google reviews, and to have reviews coming in every single week, because recency is a major factor. Um, Google calls it review velocity. Are you continuously getting reviews? Without those reviews, you're just not going to show up. So this is this is where I live, Tucson, and I just looked for tree service near me or something like that. 3 companies show up, so they've done a good job of optimizing their Google Business Profile to show up. However, this one has 95 reviews and this one has 1. How many people do you think are going to call Cabo and Brothers Tree Care as compared to Desert Canopy? Right. Now that's an extreme example. I just saw it this morning. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Um, you want to be this one up at the top here. You also notice they all have an average of 5. That is not realistic and that is not your goal. Most people look at 5 and go, fake reviews. 4.8, 4.9, 4.7, those are good. Those are real. And it's more important to respond to every single review, but also how you respond to those negative reviews helps build your credibility. Do it professionally. If it's a fake type of review, make it clear that it is. Report it to Google if it's fake, but respond. And people do look at that and take that into consideration. I mean, we all know that people they're in a bad mood and they leave a bad review, right? It happens. It makes you more real. So don't get hung up on trying to get 5. So how do you get these reviews, right? How do you get 100, 300, 600 reviews, legitimate reviews, right? Well, ask. The number one thing is ask. And I talk to so many people who have never asked their customers. They just say, well, I don't want to bug them, or they'll do it eventually. They won't. You have to ask directly. You can do that when you're on site with them at the end of the job. Depends how your business is set up. You can use automated tools that will send an email and or an SMS or text message when you invoice them. You send this as well, and it will follow up with them to keep asking them for the review until they either say, I'm not doing it, or you don't want to send it probably more than 3 times, right? You can print business cards with a QR code on it, hand them out at the end of the job. Mrs. Jones, we sure would appreciate a review for businesses like us. It really helps us get found so we can serve more clients like you, right? Here, just scan the QR code and put the URL, because especially our older customers don't always want to scan a QR code. They'd rather just type in the URL. So put them both on a review card, right? If they're not home, Leave a door hanger asking for a review. You can do that too, right? Or the biggest thing is to automate as much of this as you can, because following up yourself is really time consuming and it's hard. How do you know if they did leave a review? Whereas if you're using a system that does this, it knows and it will either follow up with them or not, depending on whether they've left a review. Show all your reviews on your website, have them embedded. Um, and also, not just on a reviews page, but put them throughout your website. So if you're talking here about, don't know what service this was, but there is a review and include the logo of the platform it came off of. Facebook, you can't do Yelp, but Home Advisor, Angie, whatever they are now, put that in there too. And use an automated system. We do have one that, again, we've customized and used, but there are plenty out there, and I know that systems like Single Ops, Jobber, I think, as well, some of the other ones do have that built in. Uh, you might have to pay extra for it, but it's an easy way to make sure you're getting those reviews. They really are that critical. Then you can get into email marketing. This is newsletters. It is not spam that we're talking about here. We're talking about monthly or biweekly. Do not go longer than that because people forget. And to keep your open rates high, to get people reading them, they need to know what to expect. And the more they see you, you might not want to go weekly, or I know some people do, but biweekly or monthly biweekly works really well. Monthly works well. Once you get beyond that, you get a lot more unsubscribes and people who don't open. And they don't have to be that complicated. Send a welcome when somebody gets signed up to it. And these you can send to your customers. Do not be sending these off to prospects and things like that who have not agreed to get your newsletter. But to customers, you can legally do this, and to anybody who agrees to sign up. So on our forms on a website, the request an estimate form, you can add a little question. Would you like to get our biweekly email newsletter about XYZ? There's no spam, we promise. Up to a third of people will say yes, right? They haven't even worked with you yet, and they'll say yes. And so you add them to your list and you keep going. And you can do promotional emails, but make them rare and make them worthwhile. And then, okay, you're doing that. So that's a great source of repeat business and referrals because you're staying top of mind with people who've already had an experience with you. Now you want to look at paid marketing. This is usually focused on people who don't know you yet, right? You're trying to get them. Only do this if you've got a really strong foundation in place. Otherwise, it will break the bank probably. But if you're going to do this, start with local services ads. They are the lowest cost and the easiest for you to run yourself. The average over the last 12 months for our clients for LSAs is $52 per quotable lead, not just for any contact, but for a quotable lead. And that ranges from $19 to about $85, depending on location. So if you need a number to plug in there, 52 is a good starting point, unless you're in a really competitive area, and then it'll go a little higher. Once you've got those running, then you can look at Google Ads. I would not start with Google Ads. Google wants you to leave all the control to Google and let it optimize everything for you. The problem is Google's goals and your goals are not fully aligned. They're there to make money off of you. You're there to get work at a profitable rate. Yeah, I think you can probably see there's a conflict there. So, if you're going to do Google Ads, I would work with somebody who is experienced in Google Ads. Otherwise, you're going to be. Somebody called us the other day and said he's paying $300 a lead for Google Ads, and that's not even quotable leads. That's just any conversion, right? That's crazy. No one can do that and be profitable. Um, we're running at 64 on average across all of our clients, again, over the last 12 months, which is pretty good for Google Ads. And again, there's a range there. Social media ads. Thanks, Bobby. Sorry we went over. Social media ads, better for branding, brand awareness, kind of positioning yourself. Don't expect it to be a major lead generator. And then NG, those sorts of things where you're paying to get leads, and so are other people. It's a race to the bottom. And and especially Yelp, just don't go there. I crossed it out. I don't recommend doing any of those unless you're completely doing everything else possible and you've got extra cash and you want to spend it. Then maybe go look at those. But I'm not saying don't do social media ads. I'm saying don't expect it to generate a lot of leads. There's some good reasons to do it, but lead gen is not necessarily the reason. Okay. So that's a lot of things. And my advice is to pick one. You probably can't do all at once. So pick one and go in this order, right? So make sure your website's, your foundation's really strong. Your Google business profile, you've got that well optimized. You're posting on there and you're getting those reviews on Google. Then you're doing the email marketing to get the repeat referral and relationship leads coming in. And then you're putting the paid marketing on top of it. And it'll work best when you've got those foundations in place. Okay. So now, after this session, go back to the marketing calculator. And what you're going to do is go and look at the budget part of that. Actually, I'm going to quickly just share because we're pretty much, share. All right, so here's the calculator. So you know how many leads you need. You should by now have a pretty good idea of where you need to focus in those 5 areas that we went through. And this is a sample. Oh, reset to defaults. Of what's generally a pretty good way to allocate your budget. Again, it varies by company, but if you aren't sure, this is a good starting point, right? 60% to online stuff, 35% to offline, because we're finding that online alone doesn't cut it anymore. You need to be offline as well. Going almost old school is making a real difference. And then the referral, spend some money on that with a referral program or events or other things where you're building relationships. Spend some money there, right? You can change the default budget distribution to reflect your marketing if you want, or you can just go with, I'm going to go with the default, and it's going to give you what you could expect. It's fairly accurate. I am still updating some of the average cost per lead behind it. But what's going to make this even more accurate for you is if you know your cost per lead for a given source. So if you currently do lead tracking, you know this number, you can come in here and change it. Right? And that's going to make this a lot more accurate for you. You can also change the percent allocated to each of these different channels. It's starting with sort of a good mix, but there are some things, for example, you may not want to do. Like you may not want to do videos, all right? You would turn this to 0 and allocate that money somewhere else, right? I do have AI tools and automation in here, and I do recommend that you do this because it is going to make a difference with your conversions as well as possibly the number of leads you get by staying in touch. Oh, and I should mention, there's these tooltips pretty much everywhere explaining what it is, what these things are, okay? So if you don't know how to allocate it, go with this. If you have an idea for your company, put in your own numbers, right? Um, Offline is direct mail. This is not every door direct mail. This is very targeted, where you're sending to the nearest neighbors of the 5 nearest neighbors of somebody you've just completed work for, or you're doing a neighborhood blitz to like 50 people around a big job you've just done, or you are sending to what we call ghost leads, people who are online in your service area looking for your services, but they have not come to your website. We can target about 30-40% of those, and the next day a postcard goes out to them about your services. So that's what when I'm talking about direct mail, I'm talking about that kind of very targeted direct mail, as opposed to just blasted out everywhere, kind of like well, we've all seen the tree leads today type stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. Print pieces, leave behinds, door hangers, printed cards with QR codes for reviews, that sort of stuff. You do want to put some budget into that, and attending events, lunch and learns, networking events, that kind of stuff. And then put some into your referral program as well. That's fairly straightforward. You want to reward people with something that's worthwhile, and saying, "Oh, you'll get 10% off your next service with us," does not work. I can tell you that, because they're like, "I don't plan to ever cut down another tree. I'll refer you, but I'd like an Amazon gift card instead," or something like that. Give them something they can use now that isn't dependent on using your services again in the future. And that the irony is they probably will use your services again if you do that. And there's gonna give you the expected number of leads coming out of this marketing mix, the average cost per lead, and the total number that you need. So you can say, hey, this number is higher than what I needed. Hey, I'm good, right? I do need to tweak some of these numbers more, because this average cost per lead is a little low right now. And then there's FAQs at the bottom uh, that answer what's a good cost for things, what conversion rates, all of that. It gives you some benchmarks. And yeah, when I update it, there will be the ability to save it. Put your information in at the top and you can save it and you can come back. You can also export it as a PDF, which is really nice, so that you can see it. So to recap, um, hello. I'm just sorry. This is a new system for me, and I'm still getting used to this. All right. Uh, so the keys to making marketing work for 2026. First, setting your goals and being really clear about it, writing them down. I pin them on the wall next to me here so I can look at them all the time. Having that constant reminder, you know what you're going for and you know why you're going for it. Write that down. That's the starting point. Then get really clear on the 3 fundamentals of marketing. Who is your target? Describe them in as much detail so that you can see them. They're real for you. What messages are going to resonate with them? Get really clear on that, and then figure out, okay, how are we doing with our website, our Google business profile, etc. Where do we need to focus? And that's where you're going to go start with your clear messaging. Okay. Um, the things for 2026 to really think about are, don't worry about AI. And having to optimize for AI. For our clients, we're doing a lot of things to do that, but the reality is, at this point, for local business search, a few percent maybe of leads are coming from AI. The Google business profile and all of that stuff, the SEO is still where the lion's share of things are. So I wouldn't get all hung up on AI right now. Do really think about AI powered automation and different automation tools you can do, and self-service options on your website to give people the answers they want, even if they can't talk to you, and make it possible for you to get to them in 5 minutes or less. That is gonna have a huge impact for your business. And with that, that kind of wraps it up. I know we've gone over. I really thank you all for hanging in there with me. I do want to let you know that I am offering, and I'm going to send this in a follow up email, a strategy session. If you are interested, I am charging for it because we all know the value of free. Most people don't value it. So, a nominal fee of $97, looking at your marketing calculator, looking at your workbook, and helping you really figure out what exactly do you need to do. For our clients, you've got meetings scheduled, most of you, and we'll be going through that together. Hopefully, this was helpful. If there are any questions, I'll stay as long as you want if you want to stay, or you can always send me emails afterwards. And I apologize for going so far over. I did not mean to do that. So thanks for hanging out with me, and it's good to see all of you. Mhm. Will single ops calendar work with AI scheduling? No, not right now. Um, the Most of the CRMs are essentially building a moat around themselves. They're trying to keep everything within their own platform, and single ops is one that doesn't have a clear plan for how they're going to stay up to date with where things are going, and online scheduling is one of them. So we use Google Calendar or Outlook Calendar and can do it that way, but it doesn't talk to single ops. So push them, if you're with single ops, push them to either open their API or introduce some of these features that you want. How integrated are we with Jobber? Jobber is pretty good actually. They're all limited. Their APIs, they except for Arbostar, that's the one we have a complete like sync with. We've worked on a custom API and integration with Arbostar. Jobber, their API is pretty good, so we're able to pull or push a fair bit of data. Is there anything specific you're looking for, Scott, for it to do? So, yeah, one of the challenges with a lot of this is integrating the different pieces, because there isn't really at this point one platform that does everything and does it all well. So you've got to use different tools and then try and get them to talk to each other. And usually the data's in different formats, and eh, it's a challenge for sure. But we will actually be introducing in the new year a new platform that kind of acts as that hub between all of these different platforms, pulls all the information together, normalizes it, deduplicates it, puts it into the right channels, and feeds it back out. And that's going to be a game changer. Okay, well, thank you all for coming. I hope this was helpful. There is going to be a replay if you want to look at any of that, and I'll be sending you some follow up information by email. Thanks. Bye.